All right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. So the first story that I have for you guys today, Derek Lunsford. Let's talk about 212 bodybuilding a little bit. So Derek Lunsford posted a physique update at 13 weeks out from the 2020 Mr. Olympia. Now, last year in 2019, a lot of people felt that the heir to the throne, which was left vacant by Flex Lewis, was Derek Lunsford. I was one of those people. I thought that Derek was going to be the guy to win last year. He wound up getting beaten by Kamal El-Gargni, and that was primarily, I believe, a conditioning thing. I think if Derek had come in shape, there would have been no doubt in my mind that he was going to win that show. But for whatever reason, he looked soft and he looked kind of watery and he just didn't really nail it. And I think, honestly, last year's Olympia was his Olympia to lose. And I think this year, maybe he's going to hopefully correct that mistake that he made last year. And judging by this posing video, he looks as good as he's always looked. I think the shape and the structure that he's got is fantastic, and I think that structure has carried him a long way and carried him to that second place finish last year despite the conditioning. And if he's able to correct that this year, he's still my prediction for top 3 at the Olympia. Hopefully, Keon's going to win his pro debut, go straight to the Olympia. And honestly, I think if Keon makes it to the Olympia, wins his pro debut, Keon will be my prediction to win the 212 Olympia. And I think Keon and Derek have a really actually similar shape to their physique. Derek hits a vacuum pose. He's got a great V-taper. He's got a ton of upper body size. You could argue that his legs need to catch up with his upper body. And in this video, that's primarily why I wanted to include this video, because I thought his legs look pretty good here. But I think Keon, you could kind of say the same thing. He's got a phenomenal upper body. His legs are good, but they could do a little bit of growing in comparison to the upper body. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. We haven't talked too tremendously much about 212 yet this year. So let me know your guys' predictions for the 212 Mr. Olympia in 2020. Who are your favorite guys in that lineup? I know it's maybe gotten a little bit overshadowed by Classic and Men's Open, but let's talk about 212 a little bit in the comment section below. Now, next up in the news, Hafthor Julius Bjornsson. Yes, it's kind of another physique update, but it was the health update in the description of that photo that caught my attention. So Thor says in this picture, he says, "I'm finally coming up to the end of a 7-day quarantine where I will be tested to see if I've contracted COVID-19 after being in close contact with someone who was diagnosed shortly after doing some work for a job. If I'm positive, it will mean a further 14-day quarantine. Unfortunately, this means there's a chance I will miss the birth of my son and be unable to be beside my wife and support her as she gives birth and welcomes him into the world. I will take the test on Tuesday morning and am very anxious. Everyone, please send me some positive vibes." So it looks like within about a day or two, we're going to find out if the mountain Hafthor Bjornsson has contracted the virus. And from the looks of it, it looks like it couldn't have been worse timing. So I'm definitely wishing Hafthor well and hoping that the test result for him is negative so he's able to be there for the birth of his son. So shout out to Hafthor, and I believe he's closing in on almost 80 pounds of total weight lost as of this photo. Now, next up in the news, let's talk a little bit about this MonsterZym Pro show. So this show was held in Korea. Unfortunately, we didn't really get to see much of the actual show. Basically, they held the competition in secrecy because of the government restrictions and that sort of thing at the time because of the virus. So as fans, we really didn't get to know much about the lineup. We didn't really know that the show was happening at all. And we really didn't get much of anything. No pictures, no videos until like a week and a half after the show happened. So finally, they've posted an HD video from that show. You can see Samson Dauda, how he's looking. And I got to say, the lighting at this show was incredible. The production value at this show was incredible. And Sung Chol Lee is actually the one that won the show. He is the one next to Samson there. Samson, the only bodybuilder in this competition from the U.S. And looking at the HD video, I can actually see why he won. A lot of people were making the argument that Samson should have won. He took second. But I actually think the bodybuilder that won deserved the victory here, and you can see that in this HD video. But like I say, I mean, we talk about shows when they've got bad lighting. We've talked about shows when they're controversial results. But I think when a show has great production value and great lighting, that should be discussed as well. Not just talk about the negatives, but talk about the positives. So definitely wanted to give a huge shout out to the promoters of the event because I think it was ran fantastically, even though we didn't get to see it actually happen live, and because we had these kind of delayed release of the results. I respect the fact that despite these regulations, they still were able to make the show happen in secrecy. Whatever the deal was with that, I'm still not entirely sure. But now we have the video. Now the bodybuilding fans can kind of watch the competition. And I'm glad they were able to hold the show and add another name to that Olympia qualification list. I just wish that we would have been able to speculate about it some more, talk about the lineup, get to watch it live, make a review of it. But we really didn't get to see much. But overall, I don't think it was that controversial of a decision. I agree with the winner here. And again, lighting was phenomenal. Production value looks phenomenal. And the videography on this was very, very good as well. So next up in the news, Cedric McMillan. Kind of a physique update from Cedric. Cedric is also qualified and supposedly preparing for the Olympia. He kind of posted this video where he kind of is trying to set up his phone and take a video, and it falls down. But you kind of get a glimpse of Cedric's physique, and honestly, he looks like he's looking extremely big in that video. In the background, you can see his physique, and he looks massive. I mean, he looks huge right now. So I'm wondering two things. I'm wondering, A, has Cedric put on a ton of size? Or B, is Cedric maybe not preparing for the Olympia because he is looking so big? Uncharacteristically big, almost. I'm just assuming because he's qualified that he is planning on doing it, but I guess there is the possibility that he isn't. But if he does, again, I do think Cedric is kind of always that perennial wild card every year at the Olympia, just dependent on whether or not he nails that conditioning. Now, next up in the news, your obligatory Nick Walker update. Nick Walker seems to be the next big thing in bodybuilding. Everybody's talking about him after he turned pro at the North Americans a few weeks back. And now he's making his pro debut right off the bat at the Chicago Pro here in about a month. And everybody's talking about this guy. He's 26. He's super young. He's got a ton of potential. And he's got a tremendous physique from a muscle mass standpoint. Like I said, he's got every bit of muscle comparable to every other IFBB pro out there. He's like 5'6", 5'7", but at that height, he's like 250 pounds on stage. And everybody talks about how crazy his arms are, but in this video, he's training legs. And one of the things that many, many people have brought to my attention and frequently asked me my opinion on are his legs, specifically his calves. He has like very pronounced, almost varicose-looking veins in his calves, and people are asking me what's going on with his legs. Honestly, I don't know, so I'm not really going to speculate as to what's going on with his legs. People have been messaging me all kinds of different stuff, different health conditions that they think he's got, different health problems they think are going on with his legs. And honestly, yeah, obviously I notice it. But dude, I'm not a doctor. I'm not just going to recklessly make up something and say that's what's wrong with him. I'm sure he notices it too, so I'm sure he's taken whatever steps he needs to take to figure out what's going on. And I'm sure he's had it looked at before now. And I've already seen a lot of the comments and negative comments that are like, oh, this guy's going to end up like Dallas McCarver. He's going to be the next Dallas. And I'm just like, man, can't some of you guys just be happy that the kid is successful? Yes, I want to see him healthy too. I want to see him live a long, healthy life. But it's like instantly everybody wants to say that something bad is going to happen to him. And I'm just like, dude, just be positive. Yes, I want him to be smart. Yes, I don't want him to try to put on too much size too fast. I don't want him to be unhealthy. I want him to do it as healthy as he possibly can. But instantly jumping to like just saying these things, it's like, dude, it's just like people don't want to be happy for the kid. But shout out to Nick, man. I'm looking forward to his pro debut, and I'm sure he's doing what he needs to do to keep his health in a good status. Now, the final story I wanted to talk about today, William Bonac. You get the latest training video from William doing some shrugs there, looking very full and very round in the delts in the arms area. We got to talk about William a little bit because technically he's a favorite going into this year's Mr. Olympia. He was the runner-up last year and also the Arnold Classic champion. He is one of the most successful bodybuilders recently going into this Olympia lineup. So he's got to be in the conversation for the top 3 because of that, and you've got to take a look at how he's looking going into the Olympia because of that. Even though he's another one of the bodybuilders that's on the list of potential countries that's going to be kind of an issue getting them to the United States for the show in Vegas. But hopefully, like the IFBB said, him and Rolly and Hottie, hopefully they have found the way to get them over here, and hopefully they have been preparing this whole time as if they will compete. So that's going to wrap it up for the video today, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Please give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to this channel if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.